I used to think a man saying, "I'm only human," was a poor excuse. Because you hold yourself to Superman slash godlike standards, and you're ashamed of not meeting impossible standards. Anger is addictive, exactly like chemistry. Men think that feeling shame means you're dishonorable and you deserve to be punished. No, feeling shame is an indicator of honor.
We think that forgiving ourselves is letting ourselves off the hook, and that is not accurate.
The fact is, you cannot make a woman feel safe. You cannot make a woman happy. You're the walking resolution of paradoxes, moment by moment, and that is what has kept me fascinated.
Hey friends, welcome back or welcome to the Don't Change Much podcast. My name is Mike Cameron and I'm just a burnt out CEO who loves to run stupid long distances through the mountains, has lost a loved one to violence, and just trying to navigate what it means to be a dude in the wake of that. And I'm here with my co-host, Trevor Bodkin. Trevor comes from the trades, and it's funny because we've kind of had to navigate similar experiences. So on the podcast, we're just going to talk about a little bit about our experience as to what it means to be a dude and maybe some things that we learned that might be applicable. And we are so stoked today to have a very special guest, Alison Armstrong. I'm not going to give you a ton because I feel like she will speak for herself, but she's probably best known for her workshop series on understanding men and her book, The Queen's Code.
Alison, what a pleasure to have you here. I'm a big fan. Maybe if we can just tell our audience a bit, begin by telling them a bit about your background and the books you've written and what brought you into this space.
My background, I would say I was born an activist, speaking up for whomever didn't seem to have the ability to be heard. Yeah, so it started with my mother saying, "Clean your plate. There's children starving in China," and
Right.
which was I date myself there. Africa didn't show up till later, and so from hunger to homelessness to the well-being of what is normally called children. I try to not call them that because it's a way to take away some of their or all of their vote, their autonomy.
We can.
And then it converged with a discovery in 1991, February 1991, where I found out I was bringing out the worst in men and thinking that that's who men are. That, and I didn't know how I was doing it. It just rang true that I was doing it. A colleague of mine was called a frog farmer, is how it happened, as in someone who turns princes into frogs. And I didn't know how angry and hurt I was at the time. It was so much just the water that I swam in. An inheritance from my mother and the culture, if you think of it back then. And in the moment that I discovered I was bringing out the worst in men, but I didn't know how, I decided to find out. And I called it Studying Men. And I thought it would take, honestly, and I'm sorry, 2 to 3 months to learn everything worth knowing about you. Because obviously you're superficial, insensitive, potentially soulless, definitely stupid, and this is going to be simple. And even men say, "You guys say you're simple. Hey, we're simple." And no, you're not simple. You're direct.
We are not simple. I
You are
agree.
not simple. You are direct, and that is different than simple. You're the walking resolution of paradoxes, moment by moment, and that is what has kept me fascinated for 5 years. I've never committed. I've just been fascinated. And what I learned about y'all was such good news. I couldn't not tell people. And in the process, I gave up justifying diminishing men. And then I couldn't tolerate watching anybody else do it. Like, it's just
Wow.
not okay to see anyone, man, woman, or child, diminish a man. And then it got to diminish anybody, including the ways we diminish ourselves.
That's I just want to acknowledge what a radical like that's radical accountability. I don't know that a
Mm.
lot of people, and I think that's a challenge I see sort of across the landscape in the world today is like there's not enough people saying, what is my part? What is my part in how I behave? What is my part in how I react? What is my part in the people I attract? And what is my part in how this relationship is devolved? I know for myself, I've had to, I'm just 7 years in recovery. And we talk a lot about our podcast here. Don't change much. The idea that we only have to change little bits at a time. But I was in a situation 7 years ago where I needed radical transformation. And at the heart of that really was a lot of honesty and a lot of owning my part. And just like you've brought up, owning my part in my past relationships with women and like how, these bad relationships, there's this idea like, how am I bringing out this side of the women in my life? And so, it's it's beautiful to hear you say that and rare in today's culture. And yeah, I really appreciate this conversation already.
Well, that's how the Understanding Women course was born. Was there were thousands of women who had, we call it, give up the right to emasculate, to diminish, to disempower. And I ask women to give up the right to do it because it's habitual and it's instinctive, right? So it's
Mm.
triggered by fear and frustration, and then there's all these ways that we do it. But what keeps that whole thing in place is then what he did that had him deserve that.
Yeah.
What all men do that has them deserve to be constantly diminished. I mean, it's very much a conversation that's just gotten louder and louder and louder. And and what if men are not misbehaving? What if they have a good reason for almost everything they do? And I say almost everything because when I said to a man, I assume they have a good reason for that. He said, nah, I was just being an ass. And which was a lesson in when you're not attacking, men will own wrongdoing, what you might consider wrongdoing. They'll own it easily. If you're not attacking them, you're not going to now punish them with it. And so it just, I realized that our graduates who were not changing much, but changing much altogether, right? They were stacking all these acceptances of, wow, he's single focused. His brain is screening me out because of what he's committed to. He's not actually ignoring me because I'm not as sexy as I used to be. Like,
Mm.
like, oh,
Mm.
right. And so
Worries.
all these little changes in oh, he's transitioning. He needs space to transition.
Yeah.
It's another way of being focused from one focus to the next. Oh, this isn't personal. This isn't about how he feels about me. Because women think
Oh,
everything comes from how you feel about me, and everything you're doing, it comes from how you feel about women. So whether it's
yeah.
an individual man or all men, we think if we can change how you feel, so you feel the right way about us, which would be to love and care and respect and admire, which, interestingly enough, we think you don't.
Yeah.
Mm.
Which is one of the biggest lies, right? The biggest don't know shit about what's really going on, how much you love and care and respect. And who do you want to marry? A woman you admire. Because she's strong in ways that you're not. And if only she would admire you the way you're strong that she's not, man, this would all work out.
One of my and this is filtered through so many years of counseling and therapy and like really getting to know this guy because I did have reasons for the way I behaved and the reasons. And they weren't all good ones. They were all real ones though, and valid. And a lot of it was shame and this idea that like I needed to be believed in. I feared my partner losing confidence in me. That comes up a lot for me and other guys I talk to. And so, you know, when I'm filtering everything in my partner through this layer of shame I have already, or this sense that I'm not good enough, or I need to be a leader. I need to be a man. I need to, it comes through differently than my partner wanted it to be. And to credit my partners, they were all just trying to help me, like they were all just trying to love me in their way. And it was my inability to process somebody caring for me that led to a lot of the challenges we had. But until I fixed those things inside of me and really did the work on them, and honestly just got honest, because there was this shift of like kind of knowing the truth in the background and being really ashamed of what that meant. But then there's this transition to like owning the truth. Like, yeah, I'm insecure about some things. I don't like it when people lose faith in me. I fear being alone. And these are just things about me, and just ditching the shame element. Well, it got a lot easier to stand up and like be a whole person, or a closer to a whole. I don't know if I'm whole yet, but to be a closer, you know,
Okay, I got to ask you this. Because shame is one of the is one of the biggest things that not only don't women understand about men, but that I've seen that men don't understand about men.
Yeah.
And and I would say don't ditch it.
mm,
I would say head into it, because that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck.
okay,
And
yeah,
and so I would love to talk about that if you want to. But you also also just back when you were talking about what's my part. Um Partnership is my passion, and
yeah,
it's the opposite paradigm of Earth's paradigm. This is an adversarial paradigm. We are pitted against each other, starting with the belief and perception of therapy. We're now going to compete, and partnership is the opposite. It's on the
mm,
same side. It's sharing the risks and the benefits. It's being on the same team, which is something that you all have a longing for, and in some ways are much better built for than women are. And but we always say part is the first part of partnership. So
mm,
what's my part? And it's just as important to go, what's not my part? Like so
Right.
many men, when they find out how to bring out the best in women, is help them feel safe. They don't just help women feel safe. They take on accountability. It's my job to make her feel safe. And then all this shame comes up from perceiving failures in doing that. But the fact is, you cannot make a woman feel safe. You
no,
cannot make a woman happy. Another thing you hold yourselves accountable for. So
yeah,
much of being safe, I would say 90% of feeling safe is up to her. 97% of being happy is up to her. And yet you feel shame. Men feel shame, and women feel shame too when we perceive that someone was harmed, which could include we harmed ourselves, by some way that we failed to live up to our own values. They were harmed because we didn't do or not do what would have been congruent with our own, seriously, not just core, but spiritual values. And that's where we have this deep sense of shame, because we literally betrayed ourselves and someone was harmed as a result of it. And it was my late husband who pointed out that that feeling separates us from our own spirit.
I had been overcomplicating my relationships for years in the and the soul crushing failures of not being able to provide, as you indicated, all the things I thought I should be providing, and taking
Mhm,
responsibility and accountability for things that were beyond my control, but
mhm,
hating myself when I couldn't deliver on them or
mhm.
couldn't control them. And so, yeah, you're hitting some stuff inside of me right now.
So,
Thank you.
Allison, what would you say, like, what's the practical application of turning into and embracing that piece?
Well, the beauty of it is, so much of it is will. So the will to be whole, the will to be restored, which could also be described as the will to be free,
Yeah.
as in not, as in having the power to choose, not being compelled. And humans are compelled by wounds and injuries and shame and the conclusions we've made about ourselves and others. And on top of human instincts of fear, her perception of fear and opportunity. I mean, we have so little choice unless we wake up. And so once you have the will to be restored, then it's so simple. You can do it in writing, and or you can do it with another person. But the piece that's critical, and this is one of the things that it was heart bruising for me to find out that one of the things that shame does to men is to make you think you don't deserve to be restored. You ought to pay penance forever by suffering. Men think that feeling shame means you're dishonorable and you deserve to be punished. No, feeling shame is an indicator of honor.
So I would love to back this. I would love to back this up a step, because Trevor has the awareness to recognize that that exists. One of the things that I see often is that the recognition isn't there, and I come back to that, with awareness comes
Recognition of which
joy,
part?
the shame. So it can be this background operating system that we don't know. So to sort of back up before the how do you embrace the shame, before you can embrace it, you have to know it's there and it's not just blindly operating, or running you. So how can men recognize when that's showing up?
Well, I think these are related. If you're going to interact with yourself as an honorable person who's restoring his or her honor, that'll work. You can literally do it in writing. I harmed myself. I harmed this person by when? With zero justification. By doing something, when I did something, doesn't matter the provocation. You just encapsulate that piece. I harmed this person by when. And then the next step is I own that. And that's what's happening when justification is the opposite of owning, right? I
Yeah.
own that.
Yes.
Now, if you're doing it with someone who's listening to you as an honorable person restoring their honor, I would say, after you said to me, I harmed myself when I believed my father when he said, I'm stupid. And I would say, thank you for owning that. Anything else about that? And it's like pulling a string. If there's something at the end of the string, pull it. And I harmed myself when, and I harmed this other person by, and I harmed my son when I told him he was stupid. And I we do what's modeled, right? And so they just pull it and pull it and pull it until anything else about that? No. Do you forgive yourself? No. Okay, what else about that? So if the answer isn't yes, I forgive myself. And some people need to say, yes, I forgive myself for that. And it might
Yes.
even be, yes, I forgive myself for betraying my value of compassion, for betraying my value of honoring, including myself, of betraying my value of empowerment, to like whatever there is to that's there that was really at the heart and what caused the disconnect. And usually if you're doing it with another person and you truly forget, yes, I forgive myself, they can feel what just happened. Because, and this is how I literally have challenged, you might say tricked, men into forgiving themselves. I spread out on a blanket all the ways that not forgiving yourself all the ways that carrying around that shame actually protects you from risk, from failure, and it's chicken.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
forgiving is not letting off the hook. Forgiving is, it takes courage to forgive yourself, because when you truly forgive yourself, it's like all of life heard it. And it's like,
Mm.
"You're back? You we missed you over here. You're ba
No, Lord.
Oh, and there's something we need from you. Would you give this to us? Would you be count honorable for giving this to us?" Which is really what we're so wanting from each other, is that we each be count honorable, accountable. You can call on me, you can hold me to account for. We so want that from each other when it's truly your part, when it's truly my part.
Right.
Doing that when it's not our part is a mess.
When I sit with other men and we go through this process and they have a lot of shame around their behaviors or they're part of things and they think they're bad people or a bad person and they hate themselves for it. I'm like, I'm like, would a bad person really feel bad about all that stuff? And they're like,
Awesome.
I'm like, so number one, we immediately see evidence that you are a better person than you believe you are. Number two, forgive yourself. Don't be selfish. And they look at me because it feels very selfish um, when when we're coming from places where we have caused a lot of harm with our behaviors and our
Yes.
addiction. Very real that we do need to take accountability for. It feels selfish to let ourselves. We think that forgiving ourselves is letting ourselves off the hook,
Right?
and that is not,
Yeah.
as you're saying, that is
Yeah,
not accurate.
right?
It is allowing me to set my negative self-talk aside, and it's allowing me to stand up and be a better version of myself, or a version of myself that can live in line with my values. And I'll tell you, my daughters missed me for over a decade of their lives because I was lost in this addiction, a very selfish disease. And I'll tell you, both of them would tell you, thank God Dad forgave himself because he can show up for his grandkids. He can show up for us now. He can be a person that we're happy to be around. It appears like Dad is enjoying life. Like, I'll tell you, they don't hate me for forgiving myself, and neither do I. Now I can see the other side of it because
Yes.
when I forgave myself and stood back up, I was able to now take responsibility for my part and make amends and to do the right thing and to start living inside of my values so that damage doesn't happen again.
I love all of that, and can I mess with it?
Oh, please mess away.
I used to think a man saying, "I'm only human," was a
Mm.
poor excuse. And then as I learned more and more about men and shame, and the source of the shame being the standards that you have for yourself, and exploring the standards men have for themselves, shocking. "I'm only human" is a confession.
I was just gonna say, we're saying it to ourselves.
Yes, it's a confession, because you hold yourself to Superman slash godlike standards, and you're ashamed of not meeting impossible standards.
Yes.
So one of the things that men shame themselves for and women shame men for are impulses. That's the lizard brain. You're not in control of the impulses. It says in Keys to the Kingdom, a man noticing another woman is not a sign of disrespect. It's not personal. How
Mm.
quickly he turns his head back to you, that's personal. That's how he's honoring you.
How quickly he notices. Yeah.
Yeah, that he catches that he was caught, and he comes back to you. That's the
Yeah.
respect. There's no disrespect here. He
Mm.
it's She caught my eye. You guys are so literal in how you put things, and it's true. You were snagged. And for a woman to take your snagging personal as a character fault on your part, right? anger numbs fear. It numbs fear, it overrides fear, which is why
Does.
it does. It overrides fear and it takes powerlessness and makes us feel powerful, even though it's not
Yes,
really. But so a feeling we hate turn into something that feels better. But the sensations in our bodies of anger, they're addictive. The
they
emotion
are.
of anger is addictive, exactly, like chemistry, which is testosterone and epinephrine. It's addictive, and we're just all seeking pushers to get our fix. And I mean, it's a instead of shame around addiction, I must be a weak, pitiful person to be addicted. So, a better question, what am I addicted to now?
Oh,
Mm.
exactly. And
What am I addicted
that's
to
the
now?
thing, yes.
Ah, my daily chocolate. And then even asking, so how harmful is this way of anesthetizing myself from the pain? Because I mean, I literally I own the need to be numb and distracted. I
Yes,
was just say to my husband, I'm done with the human experience for today.
yes.
You'll find me
And that
in front of the
that's
television.
been a big part of my recovery is just coming to terms with I have accepted, without judgment that in my life, I will have to manage, the consequences, of, that thing inside my mind that wants more, more often, and more better. And it's just the way I'm programmed, and I'm not unique. I'm not unique at
Would
all.
would you
But
let me poke you some more?
Opie, please.
The brain in this body that I'm the renter, not the landlord. The brain in the body that who I am is occupying to have a human experience really wants to, really craves, really seeks. I- Seriously, if it was you, you could stop it. What if
Fair.
it's just a machine? What if it's not I keep thinking? It keeps saying. What if the true choices are made by I? Those are
Mm,
mine. The true freedom to choose. I choose to have compassion in this moment for this person who has done me so much hurt. I'm going to have
yes.
compassion. Right? Those are the choices. The rest is a toaster. You push down it, it pops
Absolutely.
up. You push down it, you pop down. It's mechanical. And
Yeah.
us taking it personally, which someone asked me last week, how do I how do I stop taking things personally? I said, first notice how much you want to take things personally.
Mm,
Because that's where our Tony Robbins would say significance. Our significance, that's how we build our significance is by taking things personally. And so to not take them personally at the identity first is like, you're gonna obliterate me. I'm my worth, my but yeah, it's gonna do that. It's gonna scream. But then you're left with yourself and questions of value just disappear. You're you. You're the only one who can be you. You're here because you're necessary.
mm,
What if you answered a special order request that asked exactly, we need someone exactly like you are? And you said, okay, I'll go. And your only job is to be you, but not the other thing, that lizard, the whole mechanism. That's not you. That's just the vehicle. It's like thinking you're your car.
yeah.
What if? I can't prove this, but what if?
But that's the beauty of experimentation. The what
Yeah.
if? What if I
Yeah.
tried this? What does it look like? What does it do? What
Yes.
are some of we've got you for such a short period of time. We got 35 years of research we need to cram in here. What
Good
is
luck.
what's the most powerful revelation that comes to mind, or one of the most, because maybe you can't think of the most.
What if everything we're compelled to do has more to do with being human than being male or female? What if a human being, what if who we really are can't be damaged? Cannot be damaged? What if everything we think that has diminished us or taken a chunk out of us in some way, we can be restored from? And it's the
Yes.
will and then finding the way. Without the will, no way works. With enough will, anything works.
What is your favorite teaching? What is your favorite nugget that you could have somebody walk away with?
Our lives are shaped by the questions we live in. This was told to
Mm.
me by a man named Tom Solomon when I was about 28 years old. He said, "What our lives are determined by our capacities." And I said, and I got it. I said, "What are our capacities determined by? What can we hold? What can we be with? What can we have?" I said, what are our capacities determined by?" He said, "By the questions we live in." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Most people live in questions like, is it Friday yet? Am I good
Mm.
enough? Do they like me? Do
Mm.
they respect me? Am I going to
Oh.
make it?
Mm.
What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? These are all just spinning. They're just spinning in our heads. They're driven by instinct. And if you want to change your life, any part of your life, change your question. So
Ask better questions.
for most women, they have a question: does he love me? Does he love me? Does he love me? Add how. How does he love me?
Mm.
With my partner, my husband was a very tender man. My partner, Dan, I call rough and ready. And I was missing tender. And I noticed I'm like, I want tender, I want tender. And heard myself. I heard that voice. I was like, wait a second. What would Alison Armstrong say? Go on a treasure hunt. How is this man tender? Oh my gosh, how tender he is. I started seeing it everywhere. These ways that he expresses tenderness, they're just different than my late husband. So, yes, it would definitely be in the top 10. Not only change the question you're asking of yourself, but change the question that's being asked when someone else is talking. Like, what do I want to say about that? What do I know about that? Is that true for me? How do I feel about that? Do I agree or disagree? That question has sent you off into a conversation with yourself, and you're missing probably 98% of what's coming from that person's mouth and heart and mind. And so the reality, it's just all spun. It's a closed system. If we
Mm.
change it to what's important to him, what matters to him, what do they care about? Or like with my mother who has dementia, what's real for her?
Wow, what a gift being curious can be for anybody's life, right? Like really getting out of ourselves, looking at things from another person's point of view, or putting ourselves in the other shoes, or asking ourselves, like, why aren't we looking hard enough? Again, owning our part. What can I do differently here?
Yeah. Well, curiously is from the Greek word that means to care.
Yes.
And that's why curiosity is so attractive. So how can it be more attractive? Be curious.
Alison, thank you so much. I want to be respectful of your time, and yeah, again, I feel like we could chat for a few days. I think Trevor and you could chat for a month or two.
Probably. Alison, of course, you're found all over the social media channels, as I've discovered. And as you've mentioned, AlisonArmstrong.com, and to find more information about the work you do and how to be accountable and change our lives.
Awesome. Thank you.